Hello, 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 hello. Thought today we'd take a little look at three chowder heads and their deluxe box set from 2003. Kind of a relic of the past in many ways, but for the time was perhaps the centerpiece of any Three Stooges collection. Now, I love the Stooges, one of my truest passions in life, and thought it was about time we come around to making a video about them. So the history of the Stooges on home video, very quickly. Their shorts tended to be released in little sets, usually of 3, throughout the 80s and early 90s. Usually they were 3 random ones, kind of just thrown together. You know, the Stooges weren't really a TV show per se. They were made for theatrical showing and then syndicated to television later. So I think a lot of places, maybe, or I should say the company, like Columbia, wasn't really sure how to release them. And if you look at TV shows at the time, they were released in all different methods. You know, we had longer programs, like here's a Jeremy Brett Sherlock Holmes. That's just one episode on a video. And other shows were kind of just cobbled together. Here's an All in the Family tape. These 4 episodes are all about money. They were kind of grouped thematically. So if you wanted the whole series, you had to buy many cassettes and kind of jump from one to the other. Or there were also like best of and fan favorite compilations. Here's 10 Years of Thomas. You know, they voted for the top episodes and assembled them together in one place. And if you look at the Stooges peers, like Laurel and Hardy, they were released the same way. Kind of these scattered releases, a few random films at a time, kind of put together quickly on one video. So the Stooges had these releases for many years, and then in the late 90s, they got a fresh new look, and this style would carry over into those early DVDs. Now, today, of course, if you want to purchase the Stooges on home media, these sets are the way to go, because they take entire years of the Stooges. You can see 1934 to 1936, I should say, available in one handy-dandy set. Pretty cool. And someday we'll have to talk about all these releases, because they're really wonderful. But the Stooges didn't get that. Remember, we have these kind of 3 random shorts, usually random shorts anyway, cobbled together to make an hour video. How do you best transfer that to the DVD market, which at the time was brand new, but was slowly and steadily replacing VHS? So I thought today we'd take a little look at that, with sort of the crown jewel of the time. Stooges releases began with the Curly Classics DVD in 1998, and then there were a couple releases every year following. You can see here they compiled several of them together into this set. So let's take a quick look through it and see what we can find. First DVD up, All the World's a Stooge, image from 3 little pirates on the cover. This is one of the best of these kind of little themed or random collection DVDs. These aren't really themed. This took 2 different VHS tapes from this series, the 3 Little Pirates video and the All the World's a Stooge video, and combined them and then added in one stray short. Violent is the word for curly. We'll come back to that later. This is a nice release though. You get 7 shorts, and something that was only in a few of these releases, you get a little booklet. Just a real quick history of the group. And that's really nice. Most of these other releases just had a leaflet like this and like that on the back. They didn't have a part you could actually open up and read. I think this was the 2nd or maybe 3rd release, but a pretty strong one. Glad it's in here. Maha, aha, Raspanya sakte benapuchne timene halonji. Here's Nutty But Nice. This one came a couple years later. This is from 2000 even, never mind. So another fairly early one, but not the first. We get some good ones here, some classics like Hoi Polloi, A Ducking They Did Go, always a favorite of mine. No real theme per se. You know, there's a random World War II short on there. This is still sealed, by the way. I'm not going to open anytime soon. Just a nice little set with some classics and Halfwit's Holiday, the final curly short. Very nice. In the late 50s and 60s up to about the early 70s, compilation films were very popular. To take these older movies and kind of make clip shows out of them. That's Entertainment being perhaps the most famous one from 1974. But this is the Stooges compilation film, Stop, Look and Laugh, which pairs them with ventriloquist Paul Winchell and his ventriloquist dummies, who look terrifying. And there's a weird scene where the marquee chimps do Cinderella, and the chimps are all in wigs and makeup, excuse me. Yeah, it's different. They try to kind of blend the Stooges clips into a story, and I don't think that suits them. And what is perhaps most frustrating, remember, not all Stooges shorts made it onto these DVDs. About, maybe a little over half the Curly shorts did. So there were some shorts that were in this compilation that hadn't been released to home video yet. What's the Matador? Sockabye Baby, Oily to Bed, Oily to Rise. So to be able to see them here but not own them in your DVD collection, that's kind of a bummer. So this one's neat as a curio, but pretty skippable. Cops and Robbers. So we have the first that is definitely a themed collection. All Stooges shorts involving crime or criminals. Got some classics in there like Whodunit. That one's well liked. And a couple misfires like Flatfoot Stooges. I was never big into that one. The big point of controversy here is the inclusion of Disorder in the Court. Disorder in the Court is one of those Stooges shorts that is in the public domain. So you can find many bargain bin copyright-free releases of it. So to include it here, I know, frustrated a lot of fans, especially at the time, because again, we weren't getting all of those original shorts out yet. So here we are getting it again, something you probably already had. And that's a shame, but, you know, what can you do, I guess. Spook Louder, one of the weirder releases here. First of all, there's only one Curly short, and that's Spook Louder, you know, the eponymous film there. Spook Louder tends to be one of the more divisive shorts. It's got a really bad framing device that doesn't work, and it's got some anti-Japanese rhetoric, but it does have some really good, you know, kind of spooky house gags in there. But the weird thing is, they're definitely going for a horror vibe, but two of these shorts are not horror-related at all. Fright Night, despite the title, is actually about boxing, a spoof of Fight Night. And Mummy's Dummies, again, isn't about mummies, though there is a Stooges short about that, We Want Our Mummy. But this one, Mummy's Dummies, puts them in ancient Egypt as chariot salesmen. So it doesn't really work out. And again, it's very heavy on Shemp with only one Curly short, but of course, you know, Curly's on the cover. They use the Curly version of the logo, not the Shemp variant. Well, someday when we go through the VHS collections, I'll show you the Shemp variant, which I actually really like. I mean, you know, and there are some like the Ghost Talks, meh, not big on those ones. Interesting, though, that they would push it as a Curly release when it's really not. The first Stooges DVD release from 1998, Curly Classics, an adaptation of the Curly Classics VHS tapes. Again, you have the first four shorts on here, Woman Haters, Punch Drunks, Men in Black, and Three Little Pigskins. And then two later classics, A Plumbing We Will Go, perhaps one of the most iconic of all time, and Microphonies, often cited as the last great Curly short before his health and budget cuts and whatnot really kind of wrecked the Stooges. And we get a booklet that's all about Curly, which is a very nice touch. Real quick, you know, nothing terribly in-depth, but a nice inclusion. You know, and as a tribute to sort of the best of Curly, you know, those early shorts, they got in the swing of things pretty quick, and even the early ones are fun to watch. So, it's a nice release. Dizzy Doctors. This one choosing a couple, I think, more underrated Curly shorts, Dizzy Doctors and also Termites of 1938, and then putting a lot of Shemp shorts on there. Brideless Groom was a controversial choice because it is also in the public domain. It was never released on an official Columbia video, but you could still certainly find it elsewhere, like on this, you know, copyright-free release there. So including it here again was something that was very stressful for fans. Also, Bubble Trouble is featured. At that time, the most recent short to make it to DVD from 1953. Bubble Trouble is a stock footage remake of 1947's All Gummed Up. All Gummed Up is better remembered than Bubble Trouble is. It's odd that they would use a stock footage remake, I think. I don't know. But we have some good ones in here like Listen Judge You know, that's pretty fun. So, kind of an off-kilter release. And we're back to the themed sets. G.I. Stooge. We get a more generous offering here. We got 6 again. I like that. All military related. We got the French Foreign Legion short, Oui Oui Monsieur. We got, of course, Boobs and Arms, probably their most famous military short. And then Dizzy Pilots uses stock footage from that, which is kind of weird to have them both here because you might think maybe there was a mistake and you're watching the wrong one. The stock footage isn't too distracting, though. The one thing that bugs me about this is if you look at the bottom, you can see it says, Gee, I Wanna Go Home. It says that on the back as well. Gee, I Wanna Go Home. That's not the name of the short. The VHS tape got it right. Gee, I Wanna Home. It's a commentary on the housing shortage when all the soldiers were returning home from World War II. One of the few Stooges shorts to be like really topical. Pardon My Scotch also comes to mind. But it's like, you know, can't you at least care enough to get the title right on the box? I mean, the nicer collections I showed you, they have typos too, I get that, but come on, you know. Another collection of all curly stuff, Healthy, Wealthy, and Dumb. Besides the title short, we get several westerns, which is kind of odd. I don't know why they put so many on here. And we get Gents Without Sense, today most famous for Niagara Falls. Slowly I turn, and step by step, inch by inch, etc. And we get If a Body Meets a Body. I always like that one. But, yeah. You know, it's kind of odd that there's so many westerns on it, but again, people at this time, myself included, were looking to build curly collections, upgrade from these videos, and this was the kind of release that we wanted, you know. I love Shemp now, but like most kids, as a, you know, when I was a kid, I should say, I preferred curly. But Shemp is really cool. Speaking of Shemp, we got Merry Mavericks. So this one is supposed to be a Western release, you can tell with the eponymous short in the picture, but again, the theming is all mixed up. Now at least they promote this as a Shemp one, with him on the cover and whatnot. We only get one curly, Cactus Makes Perfect. Not a traditional Western with like cowboys and gunfights, but, you know, close enough. The Stooges still go west. But we have 2 odd inclusions with Dopey Dicks, their detective short, which is kind of like a film noir, you know, haunted house spoof. And we also get Vagabond Loafers, the plumbing short. And by the way, that picture is not from Vagabond Loafers, that's from Hold That Lion. Whatever. But those, I think, kind of undermine it. You know, you'd think it'd be an all-Western one, and there were still Westerns that hadn't been released yet, like Horses Collars, their 5th short. You know, still hadn't been released, and would never be released on these DVDs. It's like, you know, come on, stick with the theme. Speaking of Westerns, almost done. Outlaws is coming. This was their last theatrical film, and really the last major Stooges work. There were still a few things like Kook's Tour from 1970 and whatnot. Probably my favorite of their later feature films with Curly Joe. Like the Stop, Look, and Laugh release, you get one bonus Curly short as kind of an added incentive. I didn't mention that before. A Bird in the Head on Stop, Look, and Laugh, and Goofs and Saddles here. It's a pretty good film. Adam West as the juvenile male lead. Pre-Batman. Nancy Kovacs, or Kovac, excuse me. And we get some good Stooges supporting actors here. Emil Sitka, Murray Alper, Harold Brower all make appearances. There's a joke about the Beatles in here, which is kind of weird. You know, we forgot, I think, just how long the Stooges ran. 1930 was their first film, 1970 their last sort of television spot. So it's a neat film, though, and if you take it for what it is, a silly Western spoof, then I think it works. And we saved the worst till last. 3 Smart Saps. So this is a themed collection. Every short in it has a number 3 in the title, but it only has 5 shorts. Now this would not be unheard of, because some of the later ones from like the second wave, after these ones were all released, had only 5. Like here's Stooges in History from a few years later, and that only has 5. But when you compare it to all these other ones, it feels so skimpy. But that's not even the worst thing. I could give a 5 short DVD a pass. The image on the front is from Three Little Twerps, which is not included in this set. There's Curly in the bearded lady's costume where he briefly takes her place, the circus-themed short. And why would they have it here not to feature it? There's even a big blank space where you would think a title could go. But that's not even the worst of it. Three Little Beers. Today most famous for the golf shirt, or the golf short, excuse me, but I'm wearing my Stooges golf shirt, where that image is taken from. Three Little Beers is an edited copy. It's missing several seconds of footage. The gag where all the golf balls fall out of Curly's shirt. I'm getting shirt and short mixed up. All the golf balls fall out of his shirt is cut out, which is terrible because they keep the aftermath of it, but they don't keep the actual setup for the gag. And there's also a missing frame of footage, so the screen goes black for a split second. It's very distracting. It's a shame, too, because I think this could have been a great release. We have a mixture of both Curly and Shemp. It has kind of a unifying theme, but it's just such a shoddy product. Interior of the box, nothing there. On the side, I like that you have Stooge-related text kind of in the background. Here's the top, 12 DVD pack. You knuckleheads can look the other side there. At the back. And the bottom. You can see the barcode, all the info you need there. All in all, a nice set. And no doubt was successful enough to warrant later Stooges DVD releases, notably the colorized material, notably Stooges in History, Stooges at Work, other releases. But eventually, these sort of theme collections would be obsolete, and we would go with, proper TV season-like releases instead, as most shows did. Now, it's not unheard of for programs to have kind of themed collections. Like, here's Frasier's Christmas, for example. So they could have probably milked the theme collections for a little longer, but I'm glad they didn't. They realized their time had passed, and we got these, and they were all restored and cleaned up. The picture quality on these releases, so much better than these ones, and the VHS tapes. But an interesting sort of relic, I think, of how the Stooges went from video to DVD. Please comment below with stuff about your Stooges collection or some of your favorite Stooges shorts. Until I see you again, my friends, spread out.